All right, so this is the AAR for the car wreck, motor vehicle accident that we had, or rescue that we had on Monday, April 26th. Happened about 6:30 in the AM. Weather was clear, no fog, no rain. Sounds like the driver was on his way to work from from Berlin Ridge Road, in that area, heading to work. I didn't get the report from LPD on exactly what happened. Maybe the medic will be able to kind of fill in some of those gaps with that. Anyway, we were dispatched for a Bravo response motor vehicle collision on Brewster and Berlin roads. Initial reports were saying that a car had gone over the embankment. Time of call was 6:32 a.m. The first unit en route was 6:34, and BC 31 arrived at 6:37. When I was driving up Grant Street Bridge, I could look over and see that there was a car along the bank of the river. There was no headlights on. There was no other activity around it. I was wondering if it was a cold wreck that had happened during the evening, and that we didn't know anything about it, and the patient was either deceased or was able to climb out and take off like they normally do. When I got on scene, I gave my size up, told dispatch I would continue my size up when I made it to the edge. I asked dispatch also if this was a witnessed motor vehicle accident or if it was something that somebody came across. And we had people at Gill's Landing. Actually, one of the callers was from Gill's Landing, said that they witnessed the car coming off the edge of the embankment, and nobody had got out yet. I staged my rig off the road into the little turnaround so we could get rescue equipment up here where needed. LPD was right behind me. I called dispatch to have them go ahead and block traffic off for me because I was going to be setting up my rescue equipment right in the middle of the road. Made my way to the edge, could see down there, could see the window going up and down. So I knew I had at least one occupant. I was able to yell down to the occupant and have him at least give me hand signals. He did that. And at that point, I guess just before that point, I went to a first alarm because I wanted Rescue 31 to respond. Patient was able to answer with hand motions, asked him if he was okay. If he was, to wave to me. He was able to wave. Asked him how many patients were in there, and he was trying to give me hand signals with both hands, but he was just confusing me. About that time, truck 31 arrived, and I gave them orders to stage on the road, pretty much straight across. I was able to stand in the road, show them where I wanted them to stage and to set up for rescue. Medic 31 arrived, and they were given the same orders, was to get ready for rescue operations. Looking at how much water flow we had, not knowing, even though he said he was okay, but not for sure, I went ahead and had dispatch LCSO or dispatch AFD so we could get a watercraft. I knew we could get him up Stokes wise this way, but the quickest, cleanest way, if we needed to, if he was actually hurt, was to get a boat in the river and to boat across. I also thought about sending Rescue 31 around to Gill's Landing. They could make access off the trails here. We could have used the inflatable and paddled across to be able to make access to him, get him on, and then make it across to Gill's Landing without, I mean, the river was moving, but wasn't quite moving fast enough that I needed to worry about that. At 6:52, we had our first rescuer over. What happened in that meantime while they were setting up for rescue, we noticed that some equipment was missing and we were a little bit short on what we could get done. 307 had arrived on scene and he was able to get his harness and we were able to get a rescuer in the harness and over the side. They also were instructed when they were getting ready that they were going to need PFDs because they were going to be along the river. So what it looks like happened is patient was driving the car heading towards Lebanon, lost control in this area. He went 370 feet and with skid marks and everything off the edge of the road here. And then on this bank here, there was 2 oak trees. One was a bigger one was a smaller. It appears that he had taken the front end of the car, hit the smaller of the trees, which basically, from what I could tell, helped lay him down nicely on all 4 wheels. There had been no reason why that he didn't end up on his top, except for that is as far as I could tell. He should have basically come down and endoed and ended up on his top, which would have given us a bigger rescue scenario with extrication, especially along the river. We would have had to use a boat. We could have used Stokes to get down equipment and personnel, but patient care probably would have been a boat. Like I said, so Mr. Monzi, he was the medic and the rescuer. He was the first one down over the edge at 6:52. Mr. Monzi, would you care to?
All right, so like BC Kibble said, I was the first one down over the edge. Just came. We did a simple single rescuer lower, just straight down. Got down next to the car, asked the patient if he was okay, if he was injured. He said no. I made contact with him, felt down his unclipped and felt down his neck and back just to make sure. And then asked if he thought he was going to be able to get out of the vehicle. He said he had tried, but the rest of the tree that had come down with him was blocking the entire passenger side of the car. I briefly kind of tried to push it away, but the car was actually parked on top of it. So I asked if he thought he'd be able to crawl out the passenger side. We adjusted the steering wheel and took some stuff out of the center console, and he just climbed out the other side. I opened up the door and then did more of a rapid assessment once we got out. And then we lowered down an additional rescue with the Stokes and a couple more to help carry him up. Loaded him up in the Stokes, got him a PFD and a helmet, and then the harness that's attached to the Stokes as well. Loaded him all up. And then with everybody remaining up top, did a haul to haul the 5 of us up to the top. And then once we got up top, he refused assessment, refused much further assessment, didn't want to go to the hospital with us, and elected to go with his uncle instead. And like BC Kibble was saying, when I was getting the rest of my information, I was standing and talked with him and the cops, and it sounded like the front tires on the vehicle were pretty worn down. And I got a decent look at them when we were down there. They weren't quite bald, but they were pretty close to it. Sounds like he may have taken this corner a little bit too hot and got into the gravel, and then the combination of that plus the wet road just wasn't able to regain control, and went straight up and over the edge and into next to the river. He didn't actually make it into the river, but he did end up right on the edge of the river, about the last spot he could have stopped and not ended up in the water.
Shortly after we got firefighter Monzi down to him, Rescue 31 radioed saying they were a couple of minutes out. Medic 34 was just before them. I had Medic 34's crew join with Truck 31. And then when Rescue 31's crew got there, we had the Stokes already down. Medic 34's crew came with the on-duty crew from A shift, but also had the on-duty crew from B shift on it as well. So with them came had 2 rescue techs with it. I assigned Engineer Carroll as the haul team setup person up there at the truck to get what we needed set up for the haul team. I made face-to-face contact with the officer of Rescue 31, which was Lieutenant Dewar. I wanted him and another tech to go down with the Stokes to firefighter Monzi, along with one other operations person, to package the patient and bring them out. A kind of the dilemma that we did run into with this was we were originally tapped out as a motor vehicle collision. So everybody's in full turnouts. Once they started hearing what it actually was, people were getting into VersaPro. So we were limited on what people I could actually send over the edge and down next to the river because we don't wear turnouts next to the river. So I had to keep some of the truck up above. Actually, all the trucks stayed above because they were set up ready to go to a motor vehicle crash and weren't prepared for a rescue. So it was good to have the other people show up because they were ready to do it. Medic crews, they were in VersaPro because they were feeling the same thing, motor vehicle crash, extrication, we're gonna be in VersaPro. So we were limited on what we could send down and what we could do, but we made it work. Again, the original thought was boat, but after patient said he was okay and that he could probably walk out, decided it wasn't the best thing to do is have the patient put in a harness and pulled up. Even though he said he was okay, we still didn't know what other lying injuries he could have sustained. So it was determined, let's just do the whole rescue, complete the rescue with him in the Stokes. It's good practice for our personnel to get down there, set up everything, a good refresher. And so that's what the decision was made to do. And we canceled Albany as they were just on the outside of Lebanon. Again, they set up the truck. One takeaway from this, and it didn't dawn on me as we're sitting there yelling back and forth to people or on the radio, was remember when we do rescues and we use vehicles, we need to shut off the apparatus, whether it's a truck, whether it's a brush rig, medic unit, whatever. We can't put the hood up on the truck, but we can shut it off. That way we know that that vehicle is the vehicle that's being used for the rescue. It's our anchor. Plus it makes it that much quieter for us to be able to talk back and forth. And after we did that, communications weren't yelling, they were actually in a conversation. The haul team set up ropes and off the Maestro set up a belay and a safety off the truck using the Maestros. The haul team was able to set up and bring all the way down to the edge line. Speaking of edge line, I had 309. He was set up as our safety officer, and the company officer off the truck, Lieutenant Kroll, was our edge safety. And they were able to use between Medic 34 remaining personnel off the truck and on the rescue. They were able to pull everybody up from the bottom, Stokes and the 4 rescuers with the patient in there without any problem at all. From an IC standpoint, I think everything went well. We all know rescues are slow in getting set up, but it could have been a little faster, but we figured out what that dilemma was. And we talked about it, that communication needed to be a little bit more to the IC so he knows what's going on. If we're missing stuff or it's taking longer to get going than what we should. I was thinking we should be moving a little bit more urgency, but rescue, like I said, rescues are slow. It takes a while to get stuff set up, but all in all, I think everything went well. Everybody did a great job. We got the patient up and the rescuers out safely. Nobody else got hurt, and that's the main thing.
So I was officer on truck 31. Upon initial arrival, we were given orders by Chief Kibble to pull up. We pulled up just about where the tire tracks were going off over the edge into the dirt, and left us a very visible path. You could see where the car went over the edge. He instructed us to set up for rescue operations. We grabbed our rope equipment and started setting up a simple lowering system so we could do a single line lower a rescuer over the edge. From there, one of my downfalls, I realized once we got people suited up, I didn't ensure that people were in harnesses until we went to get them to the edge, and I was going to clip into a harness and went, oh crud. They don't actually have a harness to get into. We went back, looked for the harnesses, didn't have any harnesses. Chief Fitzwater luckily had a harness there that we could use, and used his harness to put firefighter Monzi into, and then we used that to lower him over the edge. Once the truck was shut down, it did make communications much easier. We were either having to use the radio or yell very loudly to try and communicate over the truck in order to give orders to the team to lower easy and whatnot from orders there. Other things there, we made sure as soon as Carroll and Adamson got on scene, I made sure that they were going to set up our second line for a safety and be able to convert our single line into a haul system. And they took over on that side to lower that while I was at the edge, ensuring communications with Monzi down below and the team up above. Once we started lowering down the next team, once the rescue got there, I think everything went well. It just took a few minutes to get everybody suited up in their gear. Everything went over the edge and people came up fine. We set up a 5-to-1 system when they started to raise to ensure that we had enough strength to pull everybody back up. It was a pretty steep incline that they were over. So, other than that, I think all went well from the truck.
All right, so initial haul line was already set up when we got on scene. So we ended up clipping the Maestro into that line and getting it set up. We also estimated we're going to use a 5-to-1 anyway, so we just got the equipment for that. For the belay line, we just threaded some webbing through the rim around for the truck, and we just used another Maestro for that as well. So I ran that. Casey ran the haul line with Carol, and everything just went fine. So we've already touched on communications. That was a big thing, using the consistent or the standardized haul and lower. So have those hands-on indicators as long, in addition to the verbal, was a big help. So that's it.
I went en route from home when the call came in shortly after the first alarm. About halfway to the scene, I realized that the rescue wasn't en route yet. So I ended up calling the duty chief, and seeing that the rescue wasn't en route, I turned, went down Oak Street and went to Station 31, gathered a crew there, then went en route with the rescue. And once we got on scene, BC Kibble kind of split up our crew. So it was myself, firefighter Jorgensen, and firefighter Peterson. Firefighter Peterson Jorgensen went with the haul team, and then myself was kind of reassigned to the rescue group to go over the edge with firefighter McKenzie. Firefighter Monzi was already down there, and then I had firefighter Crumley as well. And so we tied in to the lines. Firefighter Crumley went over first. He took the Stokes basket by himself, and he went down to the patient. And then myself and McKenzie just used a pressic and harnessed in and went down the main line to the patient. Once at the bottom, we packaged the patient. He didn't have any obvious injuries at all, and took our time packaging him, make sure we wanted to do it right. And then once everyone was ready, we hooked up and did the 4-point raise up to the top. And from the rescuer standpoint, I think it went pretty smooth as we went up. It was nice and easy. We weren't really getting thrown into the side of the hill at all. So the whole team did a good job hauling at a consistent rate. So it was good work from up top.
Perfect. Well, that concludes everything that I had for this AAR. Thanks for what you guys did last shift. For what we had and what we were dealt, we did fine. So anything else? Any other questions? All right.